Every mile you drive is slowly destroying your tires from the inside. Not the tread, not the sidewall, the rubber compound itself, degrading, cracking, hardening with every single rotation. You cannot feel it happening. Your dashboard will never flash a warning. But right now, sitting in your driveway, your tires are aging faster than they should be. And the company that sold them to you knew exactly how to stop it and chose never to tell you. Tire failure kills over 700 people every single year in the United States alone. Blowouts. Sidewall collapses, sudden tread separation at highway speed with zero warning. The majority of these failures happened to tires that looked completely fine from the outside just days before. The damage was internal, invisible, and entirely preventable. There is a compound, unbranded, unpatentable, available for under $3 at any general store that tire engineers quietly discovered in the 1960s. It reverses rubber oxidation from the inside out. It extends tire life by years, not months. And the global tire industry spent decades making absolutely sure you never learned its name. This is the story they buried. Welcome to Hidden Camping, the channel where sealed vaults get forced open. Subscribe and hit the bell right now, because what comes next is going to make you genuinely angry. The year was 1961. Inside a rubber processing plant on the outskirts of Johannesburg, South Africa, a materials engineer named Don Visser had been handed one urgent problem to solve. Industrial conveyor belts running through the mining sector were failing far too quickly, cracking and splitting within months under intense heat and relentless UV exposure. Replacement costs were bleeding the entire operation dry. Visser began testing organic compound treatments capable of penetrating vulcanized rubber and slowing oxidation from deep within the material. After 14 months of testing, he found it. A petroleum-derived compound, cheap to source, readily available, and more effective than anything the industry had been using before. Rubber samples treated with this compound showed 60% less oxidative cracking after 18 months of accelerated aging tests. His findings were published in a South African industrial engineering journal in 1963. Then, quietly disappeared from international circulation without explanation. Within a decade, the method had spread underground. South African mechanics began applying it to vehicle tires and watching results speak for themselves. By the early 1970s, long-haul trucking operators across Australia had adopted the procedure across their entire fleets. Drivers noticed tires lasting thousands of kilometers beyond their rated lifespan. Maintenance budgets dropped, and yet nobody spoke about it publicly, while paying customers kept buying replacement tires right on the manufacturer's schedule. Here is where this story stops being interesting and starts being infuriating. The global tire industry generates over $230 billion in annual revenue, and a significant portion of that depends entirely on predictable replacement cycles. Tires that wear out, tires that crack, tires that fail and send drivers back to the shop on cue. That cycle is not an accident, it is a carefully protected business model. You cannot patent a compound that has existed freely for decades. You cannot build recurring revenue around something that costs $3 at a hardware store. So, the method had to be discredited. Tire manufacturer training materials began flagging petroleum-based treatments as damaging to rubber in the late 1970s. Automotive publications funded by tire advertising ran pieces calling the method harmful. The messaging was coordinated and devastatingly effective. Within one generation, the knowledge had vanished from mainstream awareness, surviving only in independent workshops, in fleet operators who had seen the results firsthand, and in the notebooks of mechanics trained before the information was buried. Your grandfather almost certainly knew this. That knowledge was deliberately removed before it ever reached you. So what is actually happening inside your tire as it ages? Most drivers assume it is simply tread wear. That assumption is exactly what the industry wants you to carry. Rubber is a polymer, and polymers oxidize. When oxygen molecules penetrate the rubber compound, accelerated by UV light, road heat, and constant friction, they break the molecular chains that give rubber its strength and flexibility. This is called oxidative degradation. It works invisibly from the inside, making rubber progressively brittle and structurally fragile long before anything appears on the surface. A report from the Rubber Manufacturers Association found that tires in hot climates showed significant internal polymer breakdown within just 4 years of manufacture, regardless of mileage. The compound Visser identified penetrates the rubber surface and partially reverses this damage at a molecular level. Tires treated on a consistent maintenance schedule showed internal polymer integrity comparable to tires half their age. Half their age. That is the difference between a tire that survives a full decade and one that fails structurally in 5, sitting in a $3 container at your local pharmacy the entire time. Here is exactly what to do, and it takes under 20 minutes. The compound you need is 100% pure petroleum jelly, unscented, no additives, no fragrance, available at any pharmacy or general store for under $3. Do not substitute tire shine sprays or silicone dressings. Those products coat the surface and do nothing for the rubber underneath. Petroleum jelly penetrates the rubber matrix and works where the damage is actually happening. Start by cleaning your tires thoroughly with soap and water and letting them dry completely. Then apply a thin layer of petroleum jelly to each tire sidewall using a cloth or foam applicator, working it in with firm circular pressure. The goal is penetration, not surface coating. Keep the compound away from the tread area entirely. Let the tires sit for 30 minutes before driving. Repeat every 3 months. For tires already showing early surface cracking, apply a heavier first treatment and repeat after 1 week. Tires with severe structural cracking should be checked by a professional first. This method prevents and slows degradation powerfully, but it cannot rebuild rubber that is already structurally compromised. Total cost per application is under $3. A dealership tire conditioning service runs upwards of $80 per visit. The chemistry is not dramatically different. The only difference is the knowledge, and that knowledge was kept from you on purpose. This information did not fade away by accident. It was actively buried by an industry that built its revenue model around predictable tire damage and replacement. Your safety, your wallet, their earnings. That was the trade-off they made, repeatedly and deliberately for over 50 years. The method survived only because independent mechanics cared more about the people in front of them than about protecting a profitable upsell, quietly passing the knowledge from one generation to the next. Now it is here, documented, on record, in a format they cannot quietly pull from circulation again. If this video reached you today, share it with someone who drives. Subscribe for the next Unsealed Vault. What is coming next involves brake pad lifespan and a suppression story that goes even deeper than this one. Hidden camping is where every buried method gets brought back to the surface.